back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I am finally discussing the season 2 finale of Interview with the Vampire. I know it has been a while. I'm your absentee father. I have finally come back from the store with the milk. Okay, I am here, so let's get into it. So Louis has gone crazy. Okay, he's buried alive after he's been kidnapped and tortured. His daughter sister has been burned alive along with her lover. He was betrayed by his lover, and his old lover came back and helped them to do it. Okay, Louis has endured a lot of trauma in a short amount of time. So imagine being buried alive, and he didn't even know that he was screaming. He didn't even know what was actually happening outside of his body, I don't think, because of how his mind was so scrambled from this experience. And then there's also apparently, I think that there's some truth too, like people when they're in solitary confinement, it ends up leading them to be schizophrenic. At least to some degree, it like fractures the mind in a very profound way. And we really, really see that come to fruition because Armand is now relegated to Claudia's role. Like when Claudia was being hazed up and she, had to clean and just kind of be like the lackey for everyone. So no one really pays attention to Armand anymore. So he finds a way to get some of his blood to Louis through his casket. So Louis is somewhat resurrected, and he asked the question, like, did anyone ever ask Lazarus if he wanted to be resurrected? And I thought that was kind of interesting. But he escapes through the sewers, and he goes and hides out in a crypt in a cemetery, which, like you do, who among us, right? And so he starts to devise a plan for revenge alongside the reanimated corpses of his victims. Okay, he dwells among them, they dwell among him, and he think he's talking to these people, and they are giving him valuable advice about how to exact revenge. All the while, Armand is telepathically talking to him, telling him like, don't do this, don't go down this road, just go, whatever. And obviously, like, he's not trying to hear that. So Louis goes full on Khaleesi, full on Bernadette from Waiting to Excel, and he burns down the whole theater. Um, and because they're in their coffins, so he sets everything on fire. The two women escape, so he sabotaged like their brake lines or something. I don't know cars, I don't know motorcycles, I don't know the mechanics or the inner workings of any of that. He did something, and their cars blew up. Maybe he cut a gas line. Is that a thing? I don't know. So they blew up, but Santiago, he lures Santiago out, and the things that Santiago were saying, um, were so vile that I almost felt like beheading him wasn't good enough. I don't know what I wanted him to do to him for what he was saying about Claudia and how they killed her, like taunting him about it. It felt like beheading was too good. Okay. So, Louis and Armand have kind of like a post-mortem, no pun intended, on their relationship. And Louis is like, how long have you been lying to me? And all the while, it never occurred to you to devise a plan with me. And, Armand is like, I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. And Louis is like, you can't possibly. And we'll see why. We'll see why in a bit. So they go hand in hand to confront Lestat, who's in like his ancestral home, like this kind of cellar type situation. And Louis basically tells him, I got a man that I think I'm gonna love forever and forever we'll be together. Okay. He is basically like, this is the way that I'm gonna kill you, is by showing you that I'm going to go and love this person properly. And Lestat kind of scoffs and he says, enjoy it for as long as it holds, or something to that extent, which is an interesting turn of phrase, which Daniel probes at a bit because he's like, what do you think that meant? All the while, Rashid, who is in cahoots with the Talamasca, has snuck something to Daniel in this newspaper, right? When he brings him his pre-dinner martini with a little bit more vermouth. And we see that um as Daniel is asking these questions, like he is really in his journalism bag, okay? As he's asking these questions, Armand is getting noticeably more uncomfortable because he's about to be found out. So we see that what Daniel received was the script from the play where Claudia was murdered and he was, you know, buried alive and all of the things, right? So Daniel is reading the editing notes in the margins, and Armand is like, oh shit, where did you get that? Okay, not the question to ask, hun. That's not even, you worried about the wrong thing. So it is revealed, like Daniel reveals to Louis, he wasn't, you know, a victim here. He directed this play, and we flash back to him actually rehearsing the play with Lestat. So he was a co-conspirator. He wasn't this, you know, prisoner like he alleged that he was. He was still very much in control. And so at that point, Louis is like, oh, I know you fucking lying. And all the while, the dude from the Talamasca is messaging Daniel like, you need to get the fuck ASAP. You need to get up and go. Them folks gonna kill you. Okay, so while Lestat is and then we find out that Lestat is actually the one who turned the audience's mind to make them say banishment instead of murder. And this whole time, for 77 years, Armand has been living with this huge lie, this huge deception. And once he's found out, he tries to convince Louis that, like, no, you're over this. You forgave me for this forever ago. Like, this is no longer an issue. And then we hear this loud bang, and they had a domestic violence situation. Louis done threw that man through the wall, and not in the fun way. And Louis basically tells Armand, get your shit, get out my house. Okay, shout out to Bernie from Waiting to Excel. And tells him not to harm Daniel Malloy. And then he sets Daniel's laptop on fire and tells him that he'll wire him $10 million for his services. Okay. So then we fast forward to Louis has returned to New Orleans. During like Hurricane Katrina, like right before the hurricane hits. And I thought that that was a really interesting choice. And I've been asking some of my friends, like, what do you think the symbolism was there? Like, why did he choose to go back there? Why did they choose to have this part of the story set then? Slide in the comments and let me know if you have any ideas about why that was, because I'm sure there's some symbolism there, but I'm too tired to think of it. So while Louis is on a ghost tour, because everyone knows, if you are not in the know, people consider New Orleans to be a place where the veil is very thin, where very supernatural, spooky things happen, right? So there are, of course, ghost tours in real life. And Louis is in front of his old home, and he is being sprayed with a very fanciful version of his own tea by the tour guide. And he then observes a vampire collecting rats, and he knows, okay, this is where Lestat is. So Lestat is living in squalor with this, I guess his new, what does he call it? His new fledgling. And oh, let me just point something out. When Louis and Armand go to confront Lestat and try to, like, you know, floss their love in front of him, I loved that. Where is it? Louis says whatever pale proxy of him that he finds to replace him won't even measure up. And I was just like, that's how you clear a bitch. And it's just so funny because I think that it's toxic to believe that every person who things didn't work out with y'all, to believe that they fumbled you. Like, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes maybe you just weren't that great. But I appreciate that Louis said, no, you lost one. You fumbled me real hard. And whatever proxy, whatever pale proxy you get. Oh, I just loved it. Anywho, so lo and behold, this fledgling is obviously very annoying to Lestat, and Lestat has lost his mind a little bit too, and he's like playing music on the playing piano on this board while also listening to it on an iPad or something. He's saying that he's rehearsing, and we can see in real life that Lestat is going to, in the next iteration of this universe, he's going to be this huge rock star, which I think is fascinating. Um, and Louis asked, did you save my life? And he, in like a rare moment of actual humility, was like, I just didn't think I should tell you. I knew you would figure it out. And here you are, 77 years later, you figured it out. And, Louis, they both recognize that they are still mourning Claudia. And Louis, thanks him, and they hug each other like in this embrace as the storm is like raging around them. And I started thinking, like, damn, I wonder what happened to the people who was on the tour. Did they run inside real quick? I hope they didn't get, my God, today. I just thought about that. Anywho, um, so we cut there, and then we go to Daniel Malloy, who has been turned into a vampire by Armand and is a very successful author and is being ridiculed in the public as like, why are you telling people that you interviewed actual vampires? Because no one would believe you in real life if you told people that. But he also sold a fuck ton of books. So it's interesting that he had this kind of judgment for the moral relativism of the vampire world, or just the fact that most of them were amoral. But then he became a vampire, and he's kind of playing fast and loose with life as well. He's trying to get Louis to to be in business with him and all these things like that. Meanwhile, Louis has gone back to Dubai, and we can hear that all the vampires are conspiring to kill Louis, because the vampires know that what Daniel Malloy wrote was real tea. So they can all hear these different whispers going about. And Louis is basically like, if y'all want some, come get some. Y'all know where I stay. I'm in Dubai. I stay in room, floor, whatever. Bring your best. I'm here. Um, does the book end with what happened? Did they run up on him? Was Louis taken out the game? What happened there? So that's where we end. I also thought that it was really sweet that Lestat, when they were in this very dilapidated home, it really looked like a trap house, actually. Like they was in a bando. But anyway, Lestat is like, on this day in the 70s, like he remembers the specific day and year, like, Armand called out to me, did you try to hurt yourself? And he's so heartbroken at the prospect of Louis self-harming. And it just makes you think, like, did Lestat, in as much as he was capable, genuinely love Louis? And it seems like it, but child, don't ask me, because I've been through too much to give anybody any credit, vampires included. So that's it for season 2 of Interview with the Vampire. Stay tuned. Come back and check in with me. I'm going to wrap up my House of the Dragon reviews in time for the next season to premiere. I am super excited because as of this recording, we are only a few days away from the Peaky Blinders movie, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to dive back into that toxic ass universe. My God. Exciting things are happening. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, join the Patreon if you want to help keep things going over here, and check the channel back soon with all the things, the bells and the whistles. Talk soon.